भाव करोति विकरोति पृथक् स्वभाव संशोधितस्तदखिलं भवत स्वरूपम् यस्मिन् यतो यर्हि येनश्च यस्मात् यस्मै यथा यत् उत यत् अपरापरो वा भाव करोति विकरोति पृथक् स्वभाव संशोधितस्तत् अखिलं भवत स्वरूपम्. Yasmin, in any condition of life, yata, because of everything, yahi, at any time, past, present, or future, yena, by something, cha, also, yasya, in relationship with everyone, yasmat, from any casual representative, yes, by, onto anyone without discrimination in regard to place, person, and time, yatha, in any manner, yat, whatever it may be, uta, certainly, ya, anyone who, to, but, apara, the other, para, the supreme, va, or bhava, being, karoti does, vikroti changes, prathak separate, swabhava, nature, under the influence of different modes of material nature, sanchodita, being influenced, that akhilam, all, bhavata, of your lordships, swarupam, emanated from your different energies. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Lord, everyone in this material world is under the modes of material nature, being influenced by goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone from the greatest personality, Lord Brahma, down to the small ant works under the influence of these modes. Therefore, everyone in this material world is influenced by your energy, the cause of which they work, the place where they work, the time when they work, the matter due to which they work, the goal of life they have considered final, and the process for obtaining the goal, all are nothing but manifestation of your energy. Indeed, since the energy and energetic are identical, all of them are but manifestations of you. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Whether one thinks himself protected by his parents, by the government, by some place or by some other cause. Everything is due to the various potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything that is done, whether in the higher, middle, or lower planetary systems, is due to the supervision or control of the Supreme Lord. It is therefore said, Karmana Deva Netrena Yanur Deho Patayate. Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul within the core of everyone's heart, gives inspiration for actions according to one's mentality. All of these mentalities are merely facilities given by Krishna to the person acting. Bhagavad Gita therefore says, Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Everyone works according to the inspiration given by the super soul. Because everyone has a different goal of life, everyone acts differently as guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Yasmin Yatyarhi Yenascha Yascha Yashmat indicates that all activities, whether whatever they may be, are but different features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All of them are created by the living entity and fulfilled by the mercy of the Lord. Although all such activities are not different from the Lord nonetheless directs Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. When we accept the direction from the Lord, we can actually become happy. As long as we work according to our material senses, we are in material world. But as soon as we act according to the real transcendental direction of the Lord, our position is spiritual. The activities of bhakti devotional service are directly under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Narada Pancharatra states, Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam Tat Paratvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. When one gives a materially designated person and works directly under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's spiritual life is revived. This is described as Swarupena Avasthiti, being situated in one's original constitutional position. This is the real description of mukti or liberation from material bondage. Verse number 21. Maya mana shrujati karma mayam baliya कालेन चोदित गुणनु मतयेन पुंसः चन्दोमयान्यत् अजयार्पिता षोडसारम् संस्कारचक्रम् अजकोटिवेद्यात् अन्य. Maya, the eternal external energy of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mana, the mind, Srajati creates Kamamayam, producing hundreds and thousands of desires and acting accordingly. Bali, extremely powerful, insurmountable, Kalena, by time, Chudita Guna, whose three modes of material nature are agitated, Anumatena, permitted by the mercy of the glance, time, Pumsa of the planetary portion, Lord Vishnu, the expansion of Lord Krishna, Chandramayam, chiefly influenced by the direction in the Vedas. Yet which Ajaya, because of dark ignorance, Arpita offered, Sudasa 16, Aram, the spokes, Sanskara Chakram, the wheels of repeated birth and death in different species of life, Aja of unborn, who is there, Ka, who is there, Atitarit, able to get out, Tvanya, therefore taking shelter of your lotus feet. Translation by Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. From Prabhupada ki jai. O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, by expanding our planetary portion, you have created the subtle bodies of the living entities through the energency of your external energy, which is agitated by time. Thus, the mind entraps the living entity in unlimited varieties of desires to be fulfilled by the Vedic direction of karma kanda, fruitive activity by the 16 elements. Who can get free from the entanglement unless he takes shelter at your lotus feet? Purport by His Divine Grace, if the hand of the Supreme Personality of God is present in everything, where is the question of being liberated from the material engagement to spiritual blissful life? Indeed, it is the fact that Krishna is the source of everything, as we understand from Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. All the activities in both of the spiritual and material body world are certainly conducted by the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the agency of either the material or spiritual nature. As for the confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10, Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Characharam. Without the direction of the Supreme Personality, Supreme Lord, material nature cannot do anything. It cannot act independently. Therefore, in the beginning, the living entity wanted to enjoy the material energy and to give the living entity all facilities. Krishna, the Supreme Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created this material world and gave the living entity the facility to concoct different ideas and plans through the mind. These facilities offered by the Lord to the living entity constitute the 16 kinds of perverted support in terms of knowledge gathering senses, the working senses in the mind, and the five material senses. The wheel of repeated birth and death is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but to direct the bewildered living entity in progress towards liberation according to the varied stages of advancement, different directions are given in Vedas. Chandamayam. If one wants to be elevated to the higher planetary system, he may follow the Vedic direction as the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita 9.2. Yanti deva vrata dena, yatri deva vratam dena, pitrina yanti pitravrata, bhutani yanti bhutejya, yanti mad yagno apimam. Those who worship the demigods will take part among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go back to ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me. The real purpose of the Vedas is to add one back home, back to Godhead. But the living entity, not knowing the real goal of this his life, wants to go sometimes here and sometimes there and do something this and sometimes that. In this way, he wanders throughout the entire universe, imprisoned in various species and thus engaging in various activities for which he must suffer the reaction. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasad Paya Bhaktirata Vrija. The fallen conditioned living entity trapped by the external energy loiters in the world. But if by good fortune he meets a bona fide representative of the Lord, one gives him the seed of devotional service, and if he takes advantage of such a guru or representative of Lord, he receives the Bhaktirata Bij, seed of devotional service. If he properly cultivates Krishna consciousness, he is then gradually elevated to the spiritual world. The ultimate conclusion is that one must surrender to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, for which one will gradually attain liberation. No other method of liberation from the material struggle is at all possible. मम ज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयंरूपकथामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागररघुनाथामितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगनललिता श्रीविशाखापितं च हे कृष्णकरुणासिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्ते तप्तकञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावन श्री विश्ववानुस्तुति प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छकल्पतरुश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत शिवास आदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे अचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलवत्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय तनम. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful sangha. So here Prahlad Maharaj, after the killing of his father by Hiranyakasipu, is trying to pacify Nrsimhadev because Nrsimhadev became very angry after coming out of the pillar. Nrsimhadev becomes very angry, and the anger was not getting cool even after the death of Hiranyakashipu. After the Hiranyakashipu's intestines were taken out, Lord Nrsimhadev was not becoming happy. So Brahmaji requested Prahlad Maharaj to go and pacify Nrsimhadev. And Prahlad Maharaj first came and paid obeisances at the lotus feet of Nrsimhadev, and then started to slowly glorify the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hearing which, slowly and slowly, Nrsimhadev got pacified and lifted Prahlad and put Prahlad in his uh, mm, in his lap, and then in this process of pacification, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that, my dear Lord, everyone in this material world is under the modes of material nature, being influenced by goodness, passion, ignorance. Everyone from the great personality, Lord Brahma, down to small ant. So, a person's action is actually dependent on the modes of material nature the person is subjected to. There might be two identical men, but if you see their actions, their handwriting, their uh, palm sign, their fingerprints, they are not going to be identical because they are all captivated by the modes of material nature. So when you think of fire, right? Fire is the source of energy. And from there, when these little fragments of fire come out, they are part and parcel of the fire. Once the part and parcel of the fire, the fire droplets, if you leaves the fire, it quenches, it disappears. So as long as the part of the fire, the part of the fire is the energy which is emanating from the energetic, which is the ball of fire which is getting burnt. As long as that fragment of fire is within the confines of the bigger fire in this example, then the fire retains its uniqueness and identity. Once that little fragment of fire in the periphery of the fire leaves the fire, then it quenches and it ceases to exist. So, as long as we, as part and parcel, we are actually the energy of the Lord, and Lord is the energetic in this case. As long as the energy of the Lord is within the attractive distance, you might have heard about things like escape velocity. Escape velocity is actually a velocity after which, when that velocity is attained by an object, the object constantly is within the gravitational pull of the earth, and it goes around and around and around. And once the escape velocity exceeds that, then it basically goes to a different planetary system because it escapes the orbital requirements of Earth. So, as long as we stay within the confines of serving the Lord, serving the energetic in this case, then we stay as fire. We become living beings. We perform our duties, and then we go back to Godhead. But on the contrary, if we end up doing things which are not regulated, then instead of going back to Godhead, we go back into the vicious circle of Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. And that is where the Prabhupada has written this beautiful Narada Pancharatha prayer, Sarvapadi Vinirmukta Tat Paratvena Nirmalam Rishikesa Srikena Rishikesa Sevanam Bhakti Uchade. So that means everything has to be seen in the context of bhakti. As in Nada Pancharatra is saying you have different upadhis. Your upadhis like a son, like a sir in the office, or a husband in your homes, or a son-in-law to your father-in-law. But if we focus our attention on the supreme or the source as the source of the fire being the energetic and the fragment of fire being the energy, and as long as the relationship is intact, then nobody can dislodge you. So instead of focusing on different upadhis given, you're a son, you're an officer, you're a CIO, you're a CEO, instead of getting entangled by all of these external designations, if we focus on pleasing the Supreme, then we are connected to the energetic. And by doing that, we stay focused in our ability. And that is exactly what Prahlad Maharaj is telling, that different human beings and different species, by virtue of different percentage of goodness, passion, ignorance, are coexist. But nobody's goodness, passion, ignorance content is identical. That's the reason why there is a variation. And in the 21st verse, L- Prahlad Maharaj is talking about how the agitation of the mind leads to a person behaving differently. The mind entraps the living entity in unlimited variety of desire to be fulfilled by Vedic direction of Karmakanda, and who can get free from entanglement unless one takes shelter of the lotus feet. So our mind is our greatest enemy, and but it can also be a greatest friend. Think about the nuclear reactors. The nuclear reactors sometimes can lead to nuclear explosion of energy, but if it is controlled, then the same nuclear reactors can generate electricity for us. So what Lord is saying is the subtle bodies are agitated, and because of the agitation they tend to behave as if they are individual sources, but actually they are not individual sources. They are actually connected to the supreme, and if they end up doing anything which doesn't pleases the supreme, they will keep on doing janar punarapi jaranam punarapi varanam, because they are not working towards going back to godhead or liberation or the higher principles of life, but instead they are. So Prahlad Maharaj is suggesting that even if there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but with the time factor, uh, the ability to recognize God changes, and because of that, our behavior to one another, our behavior to the society changes. Even if two people are uplifted from the same household, but by virtue of getting co-mingled with other aspects of life, their behavior changes, and that is reflected in the different aspects of their lives. And also, uh, Srila Prabhupada talks about Brahmande Brahmita Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasada Pai Bhaktirata Bhi. So as you know, the default setting of us is Brahma is is Jiver Swarup hai Krishna Nityadas. So if that default setting is not fulfilled by the devotee, then what happens is he takes law into his hands. He takes his position of his presence in this material world to his hands, and that is when he is punished by coming Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. But instead, if he focuses his attention on the Supreme, instead of doing, instead of doing, instead of thinking that he is a son, he is a son-in-law, he is a father, but instead, if he sees that Jiver Shurupa Krishna Nityadas, thinking that if he is the part and parcel of the Supreme, and if the part and parcel of the Supreme is satisfied, then the whole is satisfied. Think about this: if you give water to the stem of the tree, or you give water to the branch of the tree may not survive because the root of the tree, which basically do absorption to prolong his stay in oxygen and carbon dioxide, if that is not fed, giving flowers, giving water to the leaves is not going to help. So, what Prahlad Maharaj is trying to pacify by glorifying Nrsimhadev is because of the different aspects of influence of the material nature, these three kinds of people are going to be different. And also, these different proportions are different. Somebody may have 20% mode of goodness, 60% passion, and 20% ignorance. Somebody may have 10% goodness, 50% ignorance, 50% passion, and 40% ignorance. So it all depends on how we have crafted our life in such a way that we absorb more of goodness more in our lives. And once we absorb more goodness in our life, our yardsticks to look at the whole world changes. And that is the reason why, if everybody coexists with love and devotion, there won't be any war, there won't be any strikes, there won't be any violence, and everybody will coexist. And that is essentially the message Prahlad Maharaj is giving in these two verses. As you are hearing that there are all kind of strikes going on, but at the end of the day, do you think it will solve the problem? Probably not. And that is where our ability to inculcate that love for Godhead, which will change the whole world. If everybody thinks that they're part and parcel of the Supreme and they have to serve the Supreme, actually the lifestyle, the attitude, the intent will change, and everybody will lead a very Krishna conscious life. So, this is a beautiful two verses where Prahlad Maharaj is giving Shruti to make sure that Nrsimhadev is is calmed and pacified, but at the same time, Nrsimhadev behaves, Nrsimhadev come back into his normal form and takes uh, Prahlad Maharaj in his lap, and that concludes the activity. Tomorrow there might be more verses on the Shruti of Prahlad Maharaj by which he is offering prayers so that he and his family can be excused, and that family includes his father, who once upon a time has to be a torturer. And that itself is such a magnanimity. The person who was trying to make him kill since the infant is now getting trapped under the intestines have come out, and finally Prahlad Maharaj requests Nrsimhadev to liberate the dead uh, Hiranyakasipu, and with using that, Prahlad Maharaj did what is right, and that's the reason why Prahlad Maharaj is ever glorified in our ability to recognize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because even if they are different, and that is where cascading, two different things and trying to make it work with one objective is so important. No two individuals in this world will be same, and they because they are proportionately controlled by different elements of goodness, passion, ignorance. So as we don't have a lot of devotees, we can conclude by saying that Prahlad Maharaj is very concerned about his father, and he, in spite of the father giving him trouble, he wanted to go back to Godhead with his father, and that's the reason why he requested. And once Nrsimhadev touched the head of Prahlad with appreciation, Prahlad Maharaj became liberated, and so is his generations, and that is such a profound uh, pastime for us to recognize that how a enemy, after being captured and having gone through the process of punishment, why he should be curtailed and let go, and why we should not hold on to that person again and again, because we all do mistakes, and just because his mistake is proofable, we don't really have to wait and release him later. So freedom is something which we all should aspire towards, and soon we should make sure that Krishna consciousness is in our system so that Prahlad Maharaj's teachings can be identified in such a way that we think we are part and parcel of the Supreme, and without the link of the Supreme, we have no meaning actually. Once the father's name is removed from from a kid, then the kid is left to so many things for him to stand up. And nowadays, a lot of families, the parents are dying because of lower age or complications. The kids are going through a horrendous time making ends meet. So I don't want to keep it longer because we don't have a lot of devotees today. But all I wanted to say is the Prahlad Maharaj Shruti in terms of seeking, or rather praying to Nrsimhadev, had to do with people are different, and they are different because of the the conditioning, and also the affirmation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like a leaf doesn't move under if the certificate of Lord is not given. And because of that, two identical people do things in different ways, because the influence of Lord or Lord's hand in every action of individuals are different. And because of that, we have to recognize that as Lord's hand is in everywhere, the fragment of fire, if it is taken out from the fire, the fragment of fire is extinguished. The fire loses its meaning. The root of the fire is the energetic, where the ball of fire is emerging, and the fragment of the fire in this example are part and parcel. But once the fragment of fire, splinters of fire, are removed from the core, then the fire loses its meaning and it gets extinguished. So more and more we stay connected with the Supreme. Let Supreme have its plan, but we should accept the plan of the Lord, and that is the 20th verse, and the 21st verse talks about talks about how we being part and parcel of the Lord, uh, and the the different organisms and different human beings are planetary expansions, and these expanded uh, people or beings are controlled by the internal and external energy of the Lord, and they get agitated by time, and this time is such a big leveler, because time, if you think, you may have the greatest relations between two individuals, but over a period of time, if that relationship uh, goes sour, then whatever commitment you may have given at 20 years ago or 10 years back is null and void. But that time is controlled by the Supreme. So most of the time, people do insurance, people keep, properties for their kids for a long period of time. A time comes, maybe 10 years later, or 20 years later, or 30 years later, these properties which are done with a lot of hardships are not used up properly by the kid. The kid doesn't need it. So instead of he- the parents focusing on hardship, if they have focused on giving love or giving good consciousness to the kid, they would have done better in their life. So Nobody in this world can time the consequences, and that is why in 21 7.9.21, the two verses we are uh, looking at today, by Prahlad Maharaj, prayers to Nrsingadev to calm him down after he becomes angry on the request and insistence by Brahmaji, is to basically say that that time is beyond everyone's control. We can think that this is good for us at this point in time and make a decision, but the same decision after 5 years or 10 years might not look all right, because we didn't had the situation, because we may buy a car and we may fit in, but after 5 years or 10 years our condition may change, and that car which we had bought may not fix, or rather is good for us 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. So the point here is time is something which Lord controls, and that's why you may have heard, "मैं समय हूँ," Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, and because of that, it's the most misunderstood uh, topic, and so that's where more and more you realize these things about part and parcel and how time plays a role. You realize how helpless we all are in this material world, and that is where Prahlad Maharaj is reposing that aspect of surrender in on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by through his prayers, that how great Lord is, and anytime we think we are outside the realm of control of the Lord, how foolish we become. And secondly, in 21, Lord talks about the time at which Prahlad Maharaj is speaking about the importance of time. In so essentially, Prahlad Maharaj is impressing on us to take or protect that bhakti lata which by which we can generate that love for Godhead, and gradually we go back to Godhead by serving, because because we lose our identity once the leaf is looking beautiful, it is looking colorful, and it is through chlorophyll, the leaf is proud enough to recognize that he is feeding the tree and all good. But once the leaf is off the tree, it's it becomes items to be raked and thrown away. It loses its identity and the beauty the leaf had in giving color or giving show or providing food to the tree is all useless. And that's the reason why, as long as the tree is on the as long as the leaf is on the tree, it has its meaning. So essentially, Prahlad Maharaj message to all of us is to make sure through the prayers after calming Nrsimhadev down, is to make sure we stay part and parcel connected with the Lord, and that is exactly when we have our meaning. Otherwise, we are meaningless. We are just a bunch of dry leaves to be raked with no beauty and no life. But stay connected, exactly like how the fragment of the fire is the energy, but once the fragment goes too far and is not connected to the ball of fire, it loses its meaning. It basically extinguishes. So those are some of the uh, aspects I wanted to discuss from 7.9.20 and 21, wherein Prahlad Maharaj is offering prayers to Nrsingadev, wherein he is glorifying uh, the importance, the significance of Nrsimhadev in our lives, and in doing so, we become more and more conscious. And hearing this stuti of Prahlad Maharaj, we become more and more conscious, and our bhakti becomes stronger and stronger every time the festivities of appearance of Nrsingadev, wherein Nrsingadev, when he came out with a lot of anger. So Lord's appearance is very sublime, very pleasing to the devotees. But Lord doesn't come out with ease. Lord's position is in the spiritual world. When Lord descends to come and take care of his devotees, he goes through a lot of hardships. You look at Lord Krishna for that matter. Lord Krishna was the eighth kid. After seven kids were, after six kids were killed, and the seventh uh, left from the clutches of Kamsa, there is a lot of difficulty the parents went through. They were born in jail, not a great condition. Lord comes through a lot of difficulty. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for that matter, a lot of Jagannath Mishra's and Sachimata's kids were having, they couldn't last long. And when Lord finally arrives, there is a lot of happiness because Lord came after a lot of difficulty by the parents. And look at Nrsingadev, very lot of difficulty. Lord, he didn't come out in a normal way. He came out from a pillar because the demon challenged and took the situation to such a extent that Lord had to come out. And when he came out, he was filled with anger. So if you look at the pastime of the appearance, Lord comes to protect the devotee, but that protection comes with a lot of difficulty for the Lord. It may be very pleasing to the devotee to get Lord's association with his appearance, but if you see the other side, Lord goes through a lot of duress and hardship to come out. So when we think about this beautiful auspicious festival, we should recognize that how not to make the lordship's life difficult. So that's the reason why in bhakti, in dhyana yoga, jnana yoga, and karma yoga, the person goes, does something, and when the Lord appears, he expects something back from the Lord. But in bhakti yoga, when Lord appears, the bhaktas says, what can I do for you? It's just the opposite. Bhaktas doesn't want the Lord to be go through some process of problem or duress. So the thought process is just opposite as to how bhaktas should respond to that situation. So, so there is a lot we talked about, but essentially the stuti or the prayer by Prahalad Maharaj is all about how we should stay connected to the Lord, to the energetic in this example, as we are Lord's energy, as long as the energy stays connected with energetic, it has meaning. Otherwise, it is meaningless. And secondly, the time in 21, Prabhupada talks about the importance of time and how we should recognize that time may change, the circumstances will change, but if we stay as servitors of the Lord day in, day out, we will not be influenced by time. And that is one of the very strong fundamentals of Bhakti Yoga, wherein the love for Godhead is transcending over a period of time, and we are not influenced by the modes, and we stay connected with service to the Lord. So, with that, like to end today's discussion. If you have any comments about the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, you can share. Otherwise, thank you so much for attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So it's 7:52. If no one has any question, we can end and prepare for our next activities, any service we may have. People may have Bhakti Vriksha at 8 o'clock, so we can end if anybody wants to share how Prahlad Maharaj prayers to Nrsingadev and what kind of message you want to share among the devotees. We'll be more than happy to hear. Okay. So if there are no comments, questions, and reflections, let's pray at the lotus feet of Nrsingadev to and at the lotus feet of Vaishnavas by praying Vancha kalpataru vascha kripa sindhu vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Vaishnavind ki jai, Nrsingadev ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Lato, Katha lato, Lato, Udata,